Hey, Gonzaga here. I'm creating this video just as a introduction to a project I'm about to start. I'd like to kind of share my journey as far as what it takes and what I'm going through, what I'm going to be creating. It's going to be a mobile game for Android and iOS, and also for Steam, and so people can play on their computer as well. But basically, I've had this idea of a dungeon crawler game like that's randomly generated for years and years now. I've created several little prototypes and little um, mechanics and services that I would like to, finally assemble all together to create this game. And I want to, have people come along the journey with me and ask questions, or um, give me advice maybe, or just give me some opinions of what they like or don't like. I'm open to that kind of stuff. Um, so basically, it's going to be a dungeon crawler where you start out with like the idea of an overworld map where you can place things around, like for example, like dungeon entrances, or like kind of reminds me of like Trove in that regard, where you can have like portals or nodes that you can enter into. So, for example, like if I want to enter into the seller's dungeon, I would have like the seller's, like little model on my town. Or if I want to, interact with a blacksmith or weapon crafter and things like that, I'd have to have like their shops in my town, and I would tap them to interact with them. And so, from that perspective, it's just like little buildings and UI and stuff like that. But then when you actually enter into a dungeon, then that's when you start the gameplay, and when you have a character that you can control and run around and do things with. So it is focused for mobile, and then there'll be like keyboard and mouse options, but or possibly joystick as well. But it's mainly geared towards mobile. So that's what my is at the forefront of my mind when I'm designing these mechanics, and then I'll adapt them to keyboard or mouse as needed. But so yeah, it's basically gonna be a dungeon crawler where you go into the dungeons, you defeat monsters, you earn resources, then you leave the dungeon, and then you use those resources to like upgrade your town, build new buildings, build better gear, things like that. So one thing that I would want to show off in this video is this concept. I've created several dungeon generators throughout the last few years, just kind of trying to think of my own system and stuff. But I found a plugin on the Unity Asset Store called Dungeon Architect, and it's pretty powerful. It's a pretty amazing tool that it has some limitations, but you're able to extend it. Like if I wanted to, I could create my own builder and extend what they've got here and use their like UI and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think I'm going to just stick with this grid flow builder. And here's an example of this no caves one, where basically you give it all of these little nodes, and I can create my own node if I want to. Like I want to have it do something specific that it doesn't currently do. I can go in and create my own, which I've done, but I don't have it on this project. But so basically, it creates a dungeon using these little rule sets. It goes through and generates the dungeon, and then spits it out. And so here I'll do a build real quick. So this one, it only has rooms with no caves for this particular one, and it uses this like node-based system. And then each of these nodes is like a possible room, and then it generates a tile set based on the different parameters that it decides on. So I'm going to move that over for the moment. Now the other thing that this does, which is pretty cool, is this concept of a dungeon theme. And so what that means is that I could create a dungeon theme, and then pass in another dungeon theme, and it can generate it the same way using like a different look or a different environment and stuff like that. And so it's really cool. And I've put together my own similar system, but not with like a fancy UI like this, but just using scriptable objects and stuff. And so that's why I really like this, because it does a lot of the things that I would do, and it's written pretty well, and so I'm going to go with it. And so one thing I wanted to point out is this concept I have that is pretty unique to my dungeon generation, which I haven't seen a lot of people do in the past, and it's this concept of inside and outside walls. And so how this works is you create these patterns, like this pattern recognition type thing. Let's see, where didn't it pop up? Oh, it's over here. Okay. So this spatial constraints. And so what this means is that I'm talking about a wall here, and if it has a ground in front of it, then that means it's inside. Where if it has a ground in front of it and no ground behind it, it's a inverse rule, then that means it's on the outside. And so any wall with a ground in front of it is considered inside, and these walls are considered outside. And so what this does is it emits this inside marker or an outside marker. And so this inside marker takes that, and now it splits it into a finer, controlled segmentation of what kind of inside wall it is. And so here I'm saying, okay, so if you've got an outside wall there and an inside wall here, and then you've got, you're surrounded by outside walls, right? So this is like a corner, inside corner, and there's no wall over here, but there's a wall over here. And so by creating these spatial patterns, you're able to create these interesting combinations or segments of walls. And so let me kind of show you what that looks like. And so you can see that it generated a dungeon here. And I have to wire it up to this thing. Let's see, I have to drag my dungeon grid flow over here. And so now every time I hit build, it'll build what it's building here as well. And so you can see, if you look at this from a top-down perspective, oh yeah, I've got my UI there, so it's kind of, I just threw this into my project, and so it's got some other things in it. But you can see that this tile set matches this 3D version of it, which is pretty cool. And so now to go look at the finer details of these inside and outside walls and why I did it this way. So you can see here that so for the inside rules, let me bring that over. So for the inside rules, you can see that I've got it separated into these different types of walls. So this is like a wall inner 6, 6-1, 12, 12-8. So what these numbers represent is like a bit mask of what it's connected to. So a 6 means it's connected to and the way I did it is up is 1, right is 2, down is 4, and left is 8. So by being a 6, it means it's connected to the 2 and the 4. And then the 6-1 means that I'm connected to a 6 and a 4, but then I've also got a corner that's adjacent to me. And so that will be, let me see if I can find that, a 6-1 here. Sorry, my phone's going crazy. Let's see, 6-1. I just want to show the differences and like why you need a 6-1 versus a 6. And so, okay, so like right here, you can see that I'm connected to a 2, a 4, and then over here, I'm also connected to another wall on this side. And so this would be like the regular 6, kind of, this is a 12, but it would be a 6. But then because I have like an inner wall here I'm connected to, it's a 6-1. And same thing with the 12, like the 12-1 or the 12-8 is the same thing. But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of what it does is it separates out the outside corners, inside corners. It can do these crazy, these tight spaces like this where it loops around, but then it's also got these outside ones. And then the way that this generator works is it has these, so these are all the combined, there is no outside. They're both on the inside. So it's like a combined two insides combined next to each other. And so I noticed that here they have this, all of these walls are 3 units long. And so you can see here it overlaps a little bit right there. And so that's something I might make a pattern spatial pattern for that. If I can detect that if there's a wall here, then to use like a shorter wall instead. But I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to be that anal about it or not. I might just put like a little end cap on top and just say, oh well, if this is a T, or if there's like if I have like a corner piece like that, then just stick like a little nub on top to hide that Z finding or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm really proud of this system because it allows me to do some really good things with these inner versus outer walls. Like I can use a different material on the outer walls. I can use a different shader. If I don't want the light to show up as much, I can use different shading on the inner walls, different textures, different meshes even. Like let's say I want the outer walls to be a certain mesh, but then I want the inner walls to be able to, have a different kind of mesh. It's just, the possibilities are really endless with this kind of setup. So I'm really proud of it. And like I said, it makes it really easy. It took a minute to get used to this spatial theming thing, because it doesn't always work exactly the way I expected. And so the best thing that I could think of is when you're doing this is to look at it from the bottom. And so if you look at it from the bottom, it suddenly makes a lot more sense to me. So for example, if I look at this this corner piece right here, where this is like a 6. So let's see if I look at this one's a 14.1, an inner 14.1. And so if I look at the inner 14.1 recognition stuff, so this one's a little bit more complicated because it's got an inside corner, but then it's also got this outside one, and so it's got to be like it's an inside corner on the outside wall where it's got another wall adjacent to it, and so it's a little bit more complicated than like a 6 one or something like that. But like I was saying, if you look at it from the bottom, it makes a lot more sense. And so I know a lot of people that have been using this have been struggling with how to use the spatial constraints. And so that was one thing that helped me at the beginning, was to look at it from underneath instead of on top. So, but that's all I got so far. I've got these outer and inner walls working. I was thinking of, like I said, doing something for these ones. So, one idea was I could come here and make this fatter. Instead of it being like thin, like these walls, these walls right here, I could come here to these jointed ones. I called it a 10D because it's double wide. And I can go, let's see, where is it? Tools, Pro Builder. I went with Pro Builder just because I don't have an artist that I can work with right now, so I'm just doing it myself. But so if I make it double wide like that, and so now you can see it got rid of that weird little nub that kind of appeared when the wall was a single wide, and so it just makes them fatter. Which, I mean, I guess it's okay. I don't know. I'll just play around with that and see what I think about it. But yeah, it's got these overlapping walls too, and so I'll have to mess around with it a little bit and see if I want to fix that or not. But so far, I really enjoyed the tool. If you have any questions about Dungeon Architect, let me know. I'll see if I can answer them. The guy that developed it, I think it's Ollie. He sometimes answers questions on Discord, but not frequently. So, if you have a question, I can answer it. I will. So, let's see. I think this thing got unlinked again, so I'll have to re-link it. But it's just kind of cool to see the different dungeons it generates, and I'm super excited to see what I can do with this. And I want to be able to do some really cool gameplay and stuff like that on mobile with this. So anyway, just keep a lookout for it, and thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.